What have we done the last years? Because the representative from all the stages, I will say a few things for each of the stages, just to recap and see where we are now. So we have stage one, a number of utilities that completed stage one. And what exactly did they complete? An initial assessment we did, setting up on the cloud, data collection, dissemination, and monitoring and control. So what we've done, we took GIS data and we convert them to EDAMs. We assist them through the hubs to the collection of field data or conversion of any kind of graphical data. This is a nice example from Kragujevac. It's a rather big network and complicated network. Koto is also a favorite. And we continuously assisting with resolving discrepancies, problems in the network, new data capturing, and so on, and providing monitoring and reporting on a weekly basis. Now, so these are the topics that basically were covered on stage one. The cloud, the collection, discrepancies, and reporting. These are topics that have just been mentioned, but not really covered in stage one, that being the zoning and the reporting manager. At some stage, we will have to revisit them, and we'll have to say more how to use the reporting manager, how to export data, how to utilize the zoning. Zoning manager, reporting, very useful tools, discuss further. There are a few other topics we only mentioned, but we didn't cover, and I call them pilot topics. This is facility management and sewer networks. I heard some gentlemen mentioning sewer networks a bit earlier. Now, let me clear it up. This project and the funding we have from GIZ is for water networks. It's not for sewer networks. We, as an appetizer, just to explain that we actually, EDAMS works and for water and for sewer, we ask some of the utilities to come forward so we convert the sewer networks. But keep in mind that there's a potential STA extension, so we're keeping it as in the back burner, so perhaps over the next 1.5 years we come with a new proposal with a new STA just for sewer and treatment works. Okay, so yes, a few willing utilities we can convert as a pilot to demonstrate to everybody else, but we don't have the capacity currently to convert 50 utilities all the sewer data. It wasn't meant as part of the project. It is very feasible. We can actually do it, we want to do it, but as an extension of this project. And this is part of what we want to do. Together with that, if we address the sewer, we have to address facilities. Facilities mean primarily treatment works, whoever has treatment works, and whoever has any kind of other facilities and manage these facilities. So we see that as a package that hopefully will form a follow-up STA just addressing sewer and facilities. So we're looking, one thing I want to tell you today, that apart from the project going on for the next 2 years, we're actively looking for ways to extend it. So we don't see it, as we explained to you in the past, we don't see it as a project. We see it as something to be long-term. And long-term means that from our side, the service of the system will continue as you have it now, but that must go hand in hand with additional CD measures, trainings, and so on. So we will see what formula will convince our GIZ partners to extend the project. The sewer and the treatment plants is a logical follow-up. It was mentioned by many of you. So yes, this is one potential avenue we're exploring, and definitely we're going to include. So facility management for us is very important, it's very big, and touches on another subject, what also we haven't discussed at all, but we're going to discuss next year, municipal assets, because your assets belong to the municipality. So that might be a good opportunity to open another big discussion, how we bring in the municipalities and how become actually part of the project. And the sewer networks. Okay, that is a synopsis of stage one. That's what we did in stage one. That's what we would like to do, and that's what we have done. Then we come to stage two, which is the maintenance. And this was quite an ambitious stage that's supposed to cover all these things. Now, I would like to say about maintenance that maintenance is extremely, extremely important. There are a number of utilities that ask me, all right, you know, we don't like maintenance. We do what we do, just leave us alone. Can we skip to platinum stage and skip maintenance? The answer to that, in theory, yes. Yes, you could go from stage one to stage three because end of the day, to set up a DMA, you don't need to have done maintenance. But it's not the correct approach. You can't ignore maintenance. And if we're going to do asset management program ignoring maintenance, we're basically fooling ourselves because the heart of asset management is maintenance. So to say that we're going to skip maintenance is not giving the right message, and also it stops what we want to do this year. That has to do with rehabilitation. But we had quite a tall order for maintenance, and some of you might be frustrated because you didn't do what you would like to do and implement as fast as you would like maintenance. It's a difficult topic for one additional reason. Maintenance involves changing procedures on the ground, changing the way people do their work. Now, to implement maintenance, you have to convince a number of people to change their routines. I heard a gentleman here that impressed me very much. I think it was from Angelikovic. He said the management stopped him from everything he was doing and put him responsible for maintenance. And that's how they made it work. Because that's the attitude. You need a champion. I said it from the beginning. For maintenance, you need a champion. You need somebody to take control. I was recently in a municipality in Greece that for the fourth year, me and the director tried to convince everybody there to start using maintenance. That was déjà vu. We did exactly the same presentation, exactly the same thing for the fourth year in a row. So, yes, it needs a certain attitude, it needs a certain management style. It has to do with a lot of things within the utility which is not in our control. On top of it, you must know that these systems are implemented on premises or on the cloud. When implemented on premises, we come on the premises and we see what you're doing and you see the routines and we help you replan them. On the cloud, we have no control whatsoever. We give you access to the system, and basically, apart from some support, we hope for the best. We don't actually actively involve on the reorganization of your utility. We give you advices, we tell you what you should do, but we don't get involved. If you really want to enforce, maintenance, the word is enforce, at least at the beginning, because there is resistance. Any kind of computerization that affects workflows, there is resistance. So, many of the utilities, they might be frustrated because they have a slow path to activate maintenance, but that doesn't matter. You have to be persistent and have to make sure that these things are enforced. There is another angle that we haven't introduced here, and I don't mention it now, but I will mention it next year, that there is an extension to maintenance which has to do with tablets. You could actually actively close job cards on the field, but it's difficult to be on the cloud. It has to be training on site, so I didn't mention it now, but can be offered as an additional service. So the easiest way out is to make the superintendent, the supervisors, that they go out to close the job cards on the spot. And that will solve a lot of the problems. but we'll discuss during the year. So we did a number of trainings for maintenance. This is the workflow we discussed that has to be established. It's not applicable to smaller utilities. Some of the steps, like the dispatching, can be bypassed in smaller utilities than necessary in bigger utilities. Reporting, we designed the job cards a number of times, and we proceeded with monitoring, reporting to the utilities on their progress and what they achieved on the weekly basis. And of course, we started with one job card form. Now we have something like 10 or 15. We lost count because every utility wants a different kind of form. We tried to have some uniformity. We failed miserably. Everybody wants its own job card for some reason. The items we haven't touched so much: proper job costing, managing, budgeting, and performance indicators. We want to revisit these items. We haven't addressed them really because only now some of the utilities start properly capturing complaints and incidents and closing the job cards. So this was the maintenance management, the stage 2, and we come to stage 3. Stage 3, we introduced 2 aspects. The one is non-revenue and the other one is operation. Now, I say introduced because for various reasons we didn't make much progress. Some of the utilities, they're quite good, they're persistent, and they have zones, and they're getting there. And we expect that some of the utilities, they will manage to balance most of the zones this year. But it's an ongoing effort. This is the introduction. But the theory, the 2 sides of it. First of all is the operations. We made an introduction to you that you have to capture all your logs. We want you to computerize the logs. That is something, again, we need to rediscuss. For utilities that they have a lot of logs and they capture on paper or on Excel, we want all this to come into the system. We didn't have queries by any of the utilities on the issue. We would expect somebody will ask us how, where, how do I import this, how do I import that. We didn't get any feedback from anywhere, so I would assume that nobody is doing anything about it. So since everybody speaks about expectations, we also have some expectations. So we like you to use the systems, and we would like you to actually make an effort, some of the functionalities which actually will be very useful to you to actually make an effort to use them. This is some of the things you will be able to see and do. Also, for bigger utilities, bulk meters, management of bulk meters is an issue. There are utilities with 30, 40, 50, or 60 bulk meters. How you manage, how you read them, and so on, it is an issue for these meters. Supply analysis per DMA, and records for production analysis, and so on. As I said, this part has not been addressed by any of the utilities. We didn't see anybody capturing any kind of logs. That means that this year we have to discuss it again as part of one of the trainings. And the next one, and most important, non-revenue monitoring, which involves zoning, bulk meter management, and apparent losses. Now, what was the objective? The objective was simple: pick up a few zones and let's see if we can balance them. We have the networks, we have all the meters, we have telemetry or meter readings, we have the billing. Let's balance it. In theory, it's simple. In practice, it proved not so simple. Why? We started having problems, first of all, with the billing. We have a recurrent problem with the billing. For some region, a lot of the utilities in the region, they use similar type of billing with coding and reference to the meters in alphanumeric characters and so on. That needs to be sorted out, not because of us, because of best practices, because that's the way you need to refer to meters. That is important exercise, needs to be completed. We discussed it also with Kotor. I don't know which other utility still has a problem. As an IT exercise, as I explained, is very simple. It actually, somebody, database expert, is something he can do in a few hours. It's not something complicated. I don't know why some of the utilities are still stuck on it. If yes, we need to discuss. In any case, we need to be able to see the billing. Because if we can see the billing and having GPS the connections, then we're in a position to know exactly which connection is related to which pipe. So the zones works automatically. I was discussing earlier with some director. He was telling me he wants to see on the Petros, yes, he wants to see the zone. So he wants the zone number as part of the key. Why? Why? There's no reason. The zones change. You open a valve, your Petroskatsi belongs to another zone. This is done dynamically. That's why people have GIS. It's picked up automatically. Every time you balance, the system knows this Petroskatsi to which zone belongs. It's picked up the same moment. That's why we want all the points to be GPSed. We want to know where all the connections are. And if we have that, we know which is the zone. That's why we did the whole zone manager. So, again, bringing in meterings from telemetry, we didn't see any of the utilities to ask for that, to link to the telemetry. What is the objective? The objective is simple, to get proper reporting, proper top-down and bottom-up IWA standard with all the indicators reporting on your status of non-revenue water per zone. That is the output, and its automation of this process is the first very, very tangible result of this 3 years effort, to know exactly which zones where they have problem with non-revenue water. And these are some of the reports we discussed on training, and that basically concluded what we've done the last 3 years. Now, not what we've done, what we tried to do, because we haven't done it yet. So we introduced it. We explained when it's to be done. We understand that this exercise will take time and persistence. So I know all of you are asking, what are we going to do now? What are we going to do next year? Yes, fine. We're going to do things next year. My question to you is, what have you done till now? I can reverse very well the question. What have you done till now? Have you balanced zones? Have you captured your operational records? Are you ahead with your maintenance? Have you done all these things so we're going ahead now? So before you're very quick on asking on expectations, please think that all these things we introduced, for most of you, they have not been completed. So there's still a lot of work to be done. So it doesn't mean all the time we have to move forward, introduce new things, and leave all these gaps behind us. So this is a ladder that's going up, so hopefully going up. So we're saying some of the utilities, they might have questions. We presented that also last year. How do you move from stage 1 to stage 2? It's an obvious answer. If you capture the majority of your networks, if you think you have reasonable good data. When do you move from maintenance to asset management? There are the requirements. If you have bulk meters, if you have zoning, and if you have georeference connections. So if you think you're ready to actually balance your zones. And again, I'm saying it again, we see this as a program, as a recurrent program, as an ongoing program. We don't see it as a project. Not from our side anyway. So one of the changes we introduced this year, because it's also a recurrent issue, in your contracts that we're going to send you very shortly next week, we don't want to go every year through this exercise, sign the contract and sign the contract and sign the contract. We're going to say that any utility, the contract with us is recurrent, and any utility will receive a letter 60 days before that saying that, you know, the contract is being renewed. If you want to cancel it, you have 60 days to cancel it. So we don't have to go through this tedious procedure every year to get approvals, you to get approvals, and so on and so on. And it's a never-ending story. And that creates, and for us, serious delays, because we end up starting the project with all the utilities sometime in March, April, which is a bit too late.